The rain hammered against the windows of our small London flat, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. For years, I'd considered myself a lucky man. At 43, I had a fulfilling career as an IT consultant, a cozy home, and a wife, Bronwyn, who I adored more than words could express. We had been married for 15 years, a testament, I thought, to our unwavering love and commitment. Bronwyn, with her fiery red hair and infectious laugh, was everything I wasn't: spontaneous, outgoing, and always the life of the party. I was the quiet, reserved type, perfectly content with our evenings spent reading by the fireplace or exploring the hidden gems of London's culinary scene. We complemented each other, or so I believed. The first crack in our seemingly perfect facade appeared subtly. Bronwyn started working later hours at the art gallery where she was a curator. She attributed it to a major upcoming exhibition, a showcase of emerging British artists that she was spearheading. I understood the pressure, the long hours, the dedication required. I made sure to have dinner waiting for her, even if it meant eating alone most nights. I told myself it was temporary, that things would return to normal after the exhibition. But they didn't. Her late nights became more frequent, her explanations vaguer. She started taking meticulous care of her appearance, spending extra time on her makeup and buying new clothes, things she hadn't bothered with before. I tried to brush it off as her simply taking pride in her work, wanting to look her best for the artists and patrons she interacted with daily. But a nagging unease began to settle in my stomach, a feeling I couldn't quite shake. One evening, I decided to surprise her at the gallery. I knew she was working late, finalizing the exhibition catalog. I picked up her favorite pastries from a nearby bakery and headed over, eager to see her face light up. As I approached the gallery, I noticed a figure standing outside, silhouetted against the dimly lit entrance. It was Bronwyn, locked in a passionate embrace with a man I didn't recognize. My heart lurched, the pastry box slipping from my grasp and scattering across the pavement. I stood there, paralyzed, unable to comprehend what I was seeing. The man, tall and handsome with slick-back dark hair, ran his hand possessively down Bronwyn's back. She laughed, a throaty, sensual sound I hadn't heard in years. A sound I certainly hadn't heard directed at me. The world seemed to tilt on its axis, the sounds of the city fading into a dull roar in my ears. Finally, I found the strength to move, to approach them. As I got closer, I could hear snippets of their conversation, whispers of longing and stolen moments. The man leaned in and kissed her again, a lingering, intimate kiss that confirmed my worst fears. I cleared my throat, the sound sharp and jarring in the night air. Bronwyn and the man jumped apart, their faces etched with surprise and guilt. Bronwyn's eyes widened in horror as she recognized me. "Eamon, what are you doing here?" she stammered, her voice trembling. I couldn't speak. The words caught in my throat, choked by a wave of anger and betrayal. I simply stared at her, my eyes burning with disbelief and pain. The man, sensing the tension, stepped forward, his expression shifting from guilt to defiance. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, his voice laced with arrogance. "Yes, there's a problem," I managed to say, my voice barely a whisper. "This is my wife." The man smirked, a cruel, condescending smile that made my blood boil. "Not anymore, I suspect." Bronwyn gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Donovan, please," she pleaded, her eyes darting between him and me. "Donovan," I repeated, the name tasting like poison on my tongue. "So that's his name." I turned to Bronwyn, my voice rising in anger. "How long has this been going on?" She hesitated, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and shame. "It's not what you think, Eamon," she said, her voice pleading. "It just happened, just happened." I scoffed, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "You don't just accidentally end up kissing another man in the middle of the street, Bronwyn. Don't insult my intelligence." "It's complicated," she said, her voice barely audible. "No, it's not complicated," I retorted. "It's simple. You cheated on me." I looked at Donovan, my eyes narrowing. "And you knew she was married?" Donovan shrugged, his expression unapologetic. "These things happen." I lunged at him, fueled by a rage I had never felt before. Bronwyn screamed, trying to pull me back, but I pushed her away. I landed a punch on Donovan's jaw, sending him staggering backward. He retaliated, throwing a punch that connected with my nose, sending a sharp pain through my face. The fight was brief and brutal. We exchanged blows, fueled by anger and jealousy. Passers-by stopped to watch, their faces a mixture of shock and morbid curiosity. Finally, Bronwyn managed to pull us apart, her voice hoarse with desperation. "Stop it, both of you. This is insane." I stepped back, breathing heavily, my face throbbing. I looked at Bronwyn, my heart aching with a pain I couldn't describe. "Done," I said, my voice trembling. "I can't do this anymore." I turned and walked away, leaving Bronwyn and Donovan standing there, silhouetted against the gallery lights. I didn't look back. I didn't want to see the regret on her face, the triumph in his eyes. I just wanted to escape, to disappear into the anonymity of the city. I spent the next few weeks in a daze, barely eating or sleeping. I moved into a small, sterile hotel room, unable to face the memories that haunted our flat. I replayed the scene outside the gallery over and over in my mind, each time feeling the same crushing wave of betrayal and heartbreak. I called my best friend, Niall, and told him everything. He was furious, his anger directed at Bronwyn and Donovan. He offered to come to London to support me, but I declined. I needed to deal with this on my own, to find a way to pick up the pieces of my shattered life. I consulted a solicitor and initiated divorce proceedings. The process was agonizing, dredging up painful memories and forcing me to confront the reality of my failed marriage. Bronwyn tried to contact me, leaving tearful voicemails and sending desperate emails, but I ignored them all. I couldn't bear to hear her voice, to listen to her excuses. As the divorce progressed, I learned more about Bronwyn's affair with Donovan. He was a wealthy art collector, a patron of the gallery. He had showered her with attention and gifts, flattering her ego and promising her a life of luxury. She had fallen for his charm, seduced by his wealth and power. I was disgusted, not just by Bronwyn's betrayal, but by her shallowness. She had traded our years of love and commitment for a fleeting infatuation, a shallow pursuit of wealth and status. The final straw came when I discovered that Bronwyn had been siphoning money from our joint account, using it to fund her lavish dates with Donovan. I felt a surge of anger, a burning desire for revenge. I couldn't let her get away with this, with destroying my life and stealing my money. I decided to fight back. I hired a private investigator to dig into Donovan's background, to uncover any dirt that I could use against him. It didn't take long for the investigator to find something. Donovan was married. He had a wife and 2 children, living in a luxurious mansion in the countryside. I felt a surge of satisfaction. Karma was finally catching up to them. I contacted Donovan's wife, Rhiannon, and told her everything. I provided her with evidence of the affair, photographs and emails that left no room for doubt. She was devastated, her voice breaking with tears as she thanked me for exposing her husband's betrayal. Rhiannon confronted Donovan and their marriage imploded. She filed for divorce, demanding a significant portion of his assets. Donovan's reputation was ruined, his business dealings threatened. He lost everything, all because of his affair with my wife. I watched from afar, feeling a sense of grim satisfaction. I had gotten my revenge, but it didn't bring me the peace I had hoped for. The pain of Bronwyn's betrayal still lingered, a dull ache in my heart. I decided to leave London, to start a new life far away from the memories that haunted me. I sold our flat and used the money to buy a small cottage in the Cotswolds, a peaceful, rural area where I could escape the noise and chaos of the city. I spent my days hiking through the rolling hills, reading by the fire, and exploring the charming villages that dotted the landscape. I slowly began to heal, to find a sense of peace and contentment in my solitude. One day, I received a letter from Bronwyn. She apologized for her actions, expressing her remorse and regret. She admitted that she had made a terrible mistake, that she had been blinded by Donovan's wealth and power. She claimed that she still loved me, that she missed our life together. I read the letter with a sense of detachment, feeling none of the anger or pain that I had felt before. I had moved on. I had built a new life for myself. I couldn't forgive her, but I could finally let go of the bitterness and resentment that had consumed me for so long. I wrote back to Bronwyn, wishing her well and telling her that I had forgiven her. I didn't want to carry the burden of anger and resentment any longer. It was time to move on, to embrace the future, whatever it may hold. Years passed. I never remarried, but I found happiness in my solitude. I pursued my hobbies, traveled to new places, and made new friends. I learned to appreciate the simple things in life, the beauty of nature, the warmth of human connection. One sunny afternoon, as I was tending to my garden, I received a visitor. It was Donovan, looking haggard and defeated. He had aged significantly, his once handsome face now etched with lines of regret. He apologized for his actions, admitting that he had ruined my life. He claimed that he had lost everything because of his affair with Bronwyn, his wife, his business, his reputation. He was a broken man, consumed by guilt and remorse. I listened to his apology without emotion, feeling neither sympathy nor satisfaction. His suffering didn't erase the pain he had caused me, but it did confirm that karma had a way of catching up to those who deserved it. I told Donovan that I had forgiven him, not for his sake, but for my own. I didn't want to carry the weight of his guilt any longer. It was time to let go, to move on, to embrace the future. As Donovan walked away, I felt a sense of closure, a sense of peace that I hadn't felt in years. I had survived Bronwyn's betrayal, I had rebuilt my life, and I had found happiness again. I was stronger, wiser, and more resilient than I had ever been before. I learned a valuable lesson from my experience, a lesson about the importance of trust, loyalty, and forgiveness. I learned that betrayal can be a devastating experience, but it doesn't have to define your life. You can choose to move on, to heal, and to create a new future for yourself, and that's exactly what I did. I embraced my new life, I found happiness again, and I never looked back. I was content, happily content. I was no longer the man who lived in the small flat in London. I was someone new, someone stronger, someone who had been through the fire and come out the other side, ready to live again. I never saw Bronwyn again. I never heard from Donovan. But their actions served as a constant reminder of the importance of living an honest and authentic life, of valuing the things that truly matter: love, loyalty, and integrity. And that, my friends, is a lesson I will never forget. The rain has stopped now and the sun is shining. I think I will go for a walk. Perhaps I will meet someone new, perhaps not. But I am happy, and that is all that matters. I moved on with my life, but the scars remained. I found it difficult to trust women, to open myself up to the possibility of another relationship. The fear of betrayal lingered, a constant reminder of the pain I had endured. I focused on my career, throwing myself into my work with renewed vigor. I traveled extensively, consulting with companies around the world. I enjoyed the challenges and the rewards, but I also felt a sense of emptiness, a longing for companionship. One evening, while attending a conference in New York City, I met a woman named Isolde. She was intelligent, witty, and beautiful, with a kind heart and a genuine smile. We struck up a conversation, and I found myself drawn to her warmth and sincerity. We spent the next few days exploring the city together, visiting museums, parks, and restaurants. I felt a connection with her, a sense of ease and comfort that I hadn't felt in years. I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, I could open myself up to love again. But the fear was still there, lurking beneath the surface. I hesitated to share my past with Isolde, afraid of scaring her away with my baggage. I didn't want her to know about Bronwyn's betrayal, about the pain and heartbreak that had shaped my life. One night, as we were sitting on a park bench, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance, Isolde turned to me and said, "You seem like you're carrying a heavy burden, Eamon. Is there something you want to talk about?" I hesitated for a moment, then decided to be honest with her. I told her everything about Bronwyn's affair, about the divorce, about the pain and the anger that had consumed me. I watched her face as I spoke, bracing myself for her reaction. When I finished, Isolde reached out and took my hand, her eyes filled with compassion. "I'm so sorry you went through that, Eamon," she said softly. "You didn't deserve that." I was surprised by her reaction. I had expected her to be judgmental, to be wary of my past, but she was understanding and supportive, offering me a shoulder to cry on and a listening ear. "I understand if you're hesitant to trust again," she said, "but I want you to know that I'm not Bronwyn. I would never do anything to hurt you." I looked into her eyes, and I saw nothing but honesty and sincerity. I realized that I had been letting my past define my future, that I had been allowing Bronwyn's betrayal to prevent me from finding happiness again. I decided to take a leap of faith, to trust Isolde and to open myself up to the possibility of love. We started dating, and our relationship blossomed. She was everything I had ever wanted in a partner: kind, compassionate, and supportive. She helped me to heal, to let go of the pain of the past, and to embrace the future with hope and optimism. We eventually got married, and we built a life together, filled with love, laughter, and adventure. I finally found the happiness that I had thought was lost forever. Bronwyn's betrayal had been a painful chapter in my life, but it had also taught me valuable lessons about love, forgiveness, and resilience. I learned that even after the darkest of times, there is always hope for a brighter future, and that sometimes the greatest blessings come from the most unexpected places. As I sit here now, years later, with Isolde by my side, I can honestly say that I am grateful for everything that has happened in my life, both the good and the bad, because it has all led me to this moment, to this place of happiness and contentment. And that, my friends, is a story worth telling. Remember that even when it feels like your world is crumbling, you have the strength within you to rebuild, to heal, and to find love again.